Hi, George here, and today I'll be showing you how to make a soft edge vignette in any shape you want, like our snowflake shape right behind our model right here. Okay, to start this off, let's go over to the original picture, which is this one. And the first thing I want to do is to crop this down to a square. So let's go to the crop tool right here, and we'll go up to ratio. I just want this at a 1:1 ratio, a square ratio. There we go. And I'll just pull the picture around until we get it placed nicely. I want to have it centered basically on the face and the mittens right here. And I think that's pretty good. I'm facing gloves actually. There we go. Hit the check mark and we now have our nice cropped picture. Let's now make a duplicate of this layer. Right click on the name of the layer and choose duplicate layer. I always do this on my projects, whether or not I need it, just as a safety. Let's now put a white layer behind this. We'll need that for our final background. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way right now. Go down to the background layer. Let's go layer, new fill layer, solid color, choose OK, and we'll just make this white. There we are. Right now, let's bring in our shape. We'll do a basic shape first, and then a fancier shape once you see the process. It's really very straightforward. So I'll go over to the shape tool, which is right here, and I have this set at custom shape. You find all the custom shapes up here in the options line, right there, options menu. And you want to come down towards the bottom. Here's all your regular shapes. Come down to the legacy shapes and more. And then come down here to all legacy default shapes. I'll come right down to that. And we'll scroll down here and come down to shapes. And right here, you're going to find a heart shape. There we go. Let's click on the heart shape. And we'll pull that in like this. And we'll adjust the size so it fits nicely. And I think bringing it down just a bit so it's not quite as tall. And that looks pretty good. If you want to see exactly how it's going to look with the position of the person, there's our center point. Let's just bring down the opacity on that, about halfway. Okay, she's fitting out pretty well in here. That's good. Let's bring our opacity back up again. Now take the shape layer, drag it below the image layer up here. We can adjust our image maybe a bit more to the right, like that. Here we go. And then right-click on the name, and it'll convert this into a clipping mask. Just do create clipping mask. What that does is it takes this layer and puts it inside of the shape underneath. And there we go. There is our shape. You can then reposition your person any way you want to in here. Now for a soft edge, I want to have it a little further away from the edges. Come down here, pull it in just a little bit like that. We don't want to have it too close. We want to have that softness stay away from the edge. That looks fine. Let's go up now to the filter menu and notice that everything here is locked out. So what I need to do is to right click on the name and just convert this to a smart object that will give us some latitude on controlling this thing and readjusting it later. And then go up here to filter, come down to blur, and you want Gaussian blur. I'll put this clear to the left to start off with. There we go. Here's our hard edge. And then just pull this over to the right just a little bit. Now it looks all black in here. It's just zoomed in. I'm going to zoom out on that. You'll see what I mean. There we go. Okay, pull this over to the right until you get just the amount of softness that you want on that edge. And I think this one here looks pretty good for the heart shape. It's obvious that it's still a heart shape, but a nice soft edge. And I like how the softness contrasts with the focus of the picture. Choose OK, and there we go. Now notice that this comes in as a smart filter right down here. So if you want to readjust that soft edge, just come down here, double click on the Gaussian Blur Smart Filter, and you can then readjust that. So you are able to go back and forth as much as you want to make this work out exactly the way you want. Okay, let's now take a look at that snowflake shape. I'm going to release this clipping mask up here because we'll need to be using this on our next shape. There we go. Come down one layer. And for that snowflake shape, same thing, go over here to our shape. And you're going to find that one. Again, we're way down at the bottom in here, down below the legacy default shapes. And we're into the nature section. And here are the snowflakes. Now, when you're doing this technique, you find that things that are thin, like this, have a real thin detail, are not going to work. You fuzz it out and you lose the look of this whole thing. So the shapes that you want are the larger, thicker shapes, like the cloud here, that raindrop, that leaf. Butterfly is okay. The big shapes. You can use this snowflake here. That snowflake will not work. This one will. We'll use this one. Same thing. I'll just go up here, upper left-hand corner, and I'll pull down and bring our snowflake shape in. And let's hide that girl for a second, and we'll get rid of that heart in behind. There's our snowflake. And we'll get that positioned onto the center. It should snap right to center, which is right there. And then same steps as before. Bring your photo on top. right click on the name, create clipping mask, puts her inside of the snowflake. I can now reposition her picture a little bit, bring her down just a touch like that. There we go. Back to the snowflake layer, right click on the name, and again, we need to convert this to a smart object right there, and that allows us to have those adjustable filters. Okay, go up here to the filter menu, come down to blur and the Gaussian blur. Again, I'll push this clear to the left first, and then I'll bring it in until I have just the right amount of blur. I want to have it obviously blurred, but still very apparent that it's a snowflake shape. And I think somewhere right around in here looks pretty good, just like that. Choose OK. And again, if you want to adjust that blur in here, since we made this as a smart filter, come down to the Gaussian blur filter over here, double click, brings it back up again, and you can then readjust that setting. If you want to find out more about how to use Photoshop, take a look at my complete training course. There's a link for that right down there in the description. Don't forget to like. Also, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss on any videos in the future. And I'll see you next time.